what's going on? Welcome to another episode of The Way I See It. My name is Chris. The way I want to go ahead and talk about today is the idea of teaching English in Japan. When I was basically looking for an opportunity to work in Japan, the main reason why I was trying to go to Japan was because of the opportunity. I was teaching English in Japan, so I can go ahead and teach English and like visit Japan. That was how you would do it. Or you would work in Japan and then you could travel, And it sounded like a great idea. And I had many different ways to create the dream in my mind about going to Japan. I mean, it went around for a long time. I think like 2005, 6, 7. Between those times, there was people that there was a podcast called Josh in Japan, and he was a Navy officer, and he lived in Yokosuka. He went to Yokosuka Bay Area, and he would talk about living on base, having a family, the weird things about Japan, and it was just a great podcast to listen to because it was like a real person that talked about a place you've never been to, and he had a great way to discuss the show. I mean, like honestly, my podcast, the Yamanone Tech and Society podcast, it plays into that. The Yamanote line melody playing in the background. Another podcast I actually listened to was Hero from Japan, which is like a kind of a joke about like people they don't say R very well, so they kind of mix them together, So, but the guy's name is Rich Pav, and he is an expat. He has like 2 or 3 kids in Japan. He also, at the time at the podcast recording, he was working for Lego companies, and the idea behind working for the Lego companies was something about the Lego company was very popular in Japan. He was just working for it, but his commute was like an hour or 2 hours. It was a really long commute, and I think even to this day his podcast is still online. And I just really thought that his stuff was just great. And he was really great in speaking Japanese. He talked about the ins and outs about being in Japan, him speaking Japanese, how he learned how to speak it. And he had the video camera sometimes connected to him while he's on the train, so that way he can like videotape the whole thing. It was just great how he did it, and it made me think about going to Japan, And going back to the conversation of going teaching English was that I noticed that it was very difficult for me to actually get into the it was really difficult for me to get into the idea of like I guess like realizing that it was going to be difficult for me to actually teach English in Japan. According to at the time, there's these 5 different companies that are big in Japan. It was Geos, Interact, Nova, the Jet Program, and Eon. And I think there's probably a few more. I think there was another one too. But those are the big companies. The JET program was the government's version of the English teaching, and you were able to apply for that once a year, and you had until the end of the year. I think the end of November. It was usually like a week or 2 before the actual JPLT, Japanese Language Proficiency exam, and then the other small companies you can apply it every 6 months. And the idea was usually just to go online on the internet, fill out a form on the internet. Then they'll send you make you a phone screen, and then you write a little letter about why you wanted to be in Japan and stuff like that. I think I even have these things still on my Gmail account. I might even pull them up. And most of the time, I would always get a call back. They would want to know a little bit more about me. And the thing about them is that when you have to do the face-to-face, that's when you bring your passport and all your identification and stuff. They didn't take that from you over the phone. But the JET program, they allowed you to they required you to record, make copies of all this stuff. One for them, one for like some processing issue, and then like another one for like somebody else. It was like a whole bunch. We had to do all the copying and everything before they got it. And then after about maybe 3 to 6 months, you would get like a letter that would show you like a list of whoever got to the next round. They would see a number there. If your number wasn't there, you didn't move to the next round. It would have been tossed to those people. So they actually had a copy of your passport and stuff like that. So what I want to basically say, did I actually go ahead and not, was it like some sort of like racist thing or stereotypic things? Like, I don't, like maybe, but I look at it more like they were afraid. Human beings are normally afraid to do things that may get them to stand out. Everybody wants to do just enough not to get fired. So for somebody to go ahead and say, I approve of this person to go, imagine me, I go out there and then I do something crazy. Then it all goes back to them that you did this, and then they'll lose their job. And like, it's very difficult probably afterwards to get a job after you've done that. Like, your reputation is so like bad. So you didn't want to do that. So I'm not really upset about that. What I even remember, I applied to these places like several times. I have like some letters I can still open when people said to me, I kept them because I was just like, I needed to make sure I remember this happening. But what the thing about it was that the Japanese, the one of the Japanese representatives, after like the third time I went, she said to me, if I went to Japan, like, do I know anybody there? Like, do I have any friends or anything? And I think that was one of the things. I remember that key when she said that, and I didn't know anybody like personally. I had like these pen pals that I knew, over the internet, and I would talk to, but I didn't really consider them as like friends. I could have met them maybe, but I realized that it was very difficult for them to have somebody come over. They probably had a lot of problems, so I didn't really push that, and that's why I just left it alone. I was like, I'm just gonna have to go on my own. But that wasn't after I actually went on a backpacking trip with my friend in Germany and realized that I can travel through Germany fine, through Europe fine. I can probably do it over here, and I did. I even have some videos of how I was talking to myself, like if anything happened, because I was like kind of surprised about it. I'm probably gonna make a clip about that and put that online. But the idea behind this is that there is an opportunity to step outside your comfort zone. You should do it. Because doing that, I finally, I actually made a friend at one of the interviews, and his name was Brian, and he was actually he got into the program for one of the English teaching programs for Eon, I believe, and he went to Kochi, Japan, to teach. And while he was out there, he called me right back and said that I think we did the interview in summertime. He left in December. He didn't finally get settled down until like January or something like that. And then he was there for like 2-3 months when I showed up. And then I met people in Japan, and it was really once I was there and people saw me and they knew where I was coming from. It was like they were okay to kind of like talk to me because they can see that, oh, you're actually a real person, and you're not as bad as we probably think you should be. Like, to say this is the stereotype. This is why I think that social media and YouTube and blogging is great, because it gives people an opportunity to hear and see you before you actually have to go somewhere. It's really hard to express who you are on paper. Words don't really do a really good job with that. So I just think that looking at it from that standpoint, I definitely agree with all the decisions that they actually made. I'm not really upset about the decision. Those are the best decisions. If you don't know for certain what's going to happen, you don't make that decision to move forward. And that's a good thing. I mean, I talk about that on my podcast about decision architecture, but that's another thing. So I'm not going to go. I don't want to talk too long over here because I'm probably going to go ahead and refresh this again on the blog page, because what I want to do is kind of like talk a little bit about these ideas and how I stepped through all these things. For example, traveling to Japan was between 2009 and 2019, off and on between the winter and the summer. And then me teaching English in Japan was like between 2006 to 2009. And after I went to Japan by the first time by myself, I was like, I could just go on my own. I don't need to, go So that's it. I think that if you like that, please subscribe. Or you can follow me. On the you can even subscribe to my the book that I'm actually building out here. It's an online book. That's basically about all of the processes and the experiences I've actually lived through for the last 20 years, and like why I believe starting a business is the future for every human being on this planet. Thank you. See you guys next time.